great. Great to see you. Great to see you. Now I can put a face behind the emails.
Katrina, thank you so much for having me on. It's really fantastic. This is a mission that I've had for a very, very, very long time, and I've always put it on hold.
And is it just that you said in your emails that you love your curtains and you just have to finish dressing the room? Is that your thoughts, or
that's it? That's it. I had the walls painted a sort of the Wedgwood blue.
Okay, and you can't remember from what paint that was, so I can look it up on my paint charts.
I think it was Farrow and Burn, or Farrow and Ball.
Yeah, okay. And it's in a kind of a Wedgwood tone. Well, we'll be able to have a look there now at the moment, but as I say, I'll have a nosy now at the paints. If we come back in again, we might try and remember, if it even means that you go out into the shed and have a look at what color was on the tin. It just means I can really see the shade, because the shade slightly changes on when it's on a Zoom call. So maybe if the items that we're looking at are the curtains, could I ask you to just do a 360 of the room, trying to have it too much on the ceiling. Now, I know none of us are photographers, so don't worry about that. It's only just...
Are you seeing enough?
Now, you need to come down a tiny bit for me so I see the bed. Yeah. And turn the camera around so I can see... okay, I see you have a nice double window. And are your curtains short or long?
Long.
Okay, so they're a lovely long curtain. So they actually will have it. Oh, I do see them there now. Lovely. Now, could I ask you, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind just pulling the fabric on one of the curtains so I can actually see the print, and maybe I might recognize it? Okay, okay.
So there's little figurines.
And you can't
remember the tree.
Can you remember whose fabric that was by any chance?
I think it was, what do you call that place in Dunleary?
Brian S. Nolan's or Hickey's?
Yes.
So you got
Brian S. Nolan's.
Okay, so there's a high chance it could be a Sanderson or one of those fabrics. But again, what we will do is I'll ask you to take a photograph, a close-up photograph of it, and send it to me, and then I might be able to recognize it. So let's carry around the rest of the room. So you have the bed behind you there. And again, if we can come down a little bit closer to the bed so I can see the bed linen.
So the bed linen is all white.
Which is lovely. That is lovely. And then could I see the wardrobes, please?
The wardrobes, I'll tell you, they're all pine.
Okay, that's fine.
But we can't alter those because they're my daughter's and she's ready to take them on me. So
she's going to, so you're going to be wardrobe less. Okay.
Yeah. And
in your mind's eye, I know this is a guest room, it's not the master bed, but in your mind's eye, do you think you're going to replace that wardrobe, or do you think anybody who's going to stay there is only going to be there for a night or two and they will just have a bag with them?
Well, I think I probably will change the wardrobe. Yeah, I'll have to get a wardrobe.
Okay, so if we were going down the line of the wardrobe, and this is where I think you had mentioned you might need lockers as well. So this is where, if we do look at lockers, or the idea of lockers for either side of the bed, we will keep in mind, does it have a wardrobe that's reasonable and comes together for you? So we won't just go out, even if we're not going to buy the wardrobe for a year, we won't go out and buy lockers and then find we can't get anything to go with the lockers, because you did say you wanted lockers, isn't that right?
No, what I actually said was that I actually have round table.
Beg your pardon. Yeah. That's right. Beg your pardon. Yeah. You did say that. And I had said to you that we should look at, in relation to the tables that the fabric goes over, we should look at a fabric that's double width, meaning most fabrics are 54 inches wide. So we want a fabric that's twice that. So when the cloth goes over the table, it actually has no joins on it. And that way, one, we'll save fabric, and two, we'll save costs. We can get great cottons, very reasonable, that will be double width. And so again, your curtains, I would imagine are, well, from the look of them, I would imagine they are a cotton finish. So
they are.
It would be lovely to keep the two tables in that cotton finish, and maybe to highlight the tone of the bluey grey that's of the toile, that's in the toile. Now that's where we have to be really careful, because we will then also be looking at your bed head, and we have to make the decision, is the bed head going to be a strong colour or a light colour? And the tables will have to contrast depending on what we put onto them. So say, for instance, in relation to the bed head, how far is the bed from the door? So what is the width and the approximate width and depth of the room, approximately?
I'd say it is, let me see, probably about, it's a rectangle, so I'd say it's about 10 feet long.
Yes.
And about, no, it's more than 10 foot, probably about 12 foot. And then about 8 foot wide.
Okay. So where is the door placed, Mairead? Is, as you're sitting
opposite the bed, to the left.
Exactly opposite. Great. So you walk in and you look at the bed head wall.
Yeah.
Great. That's brilliant, because it's lovely to have a bedroom when you have a really, really nice focal point. So you get that feeling of grandeur, even though it's not grandeur, and elegance. You know, the way, like when you walk into a boutique hotel and you get that wow factor. We can give the bed head the wow factor, and it doesn't mean it has to be expensive. It just that we might make it a little bit taller than the average, and we get the color bang on, but we can use a reasonable price fabric. So you can get the whole bespoke area without it being madly expensive. And that's, especially in a guest bedroom, you don't want to go to prices that are going to be exorbitant. You know, you want it to look nice, and you want to be able to leave the door open when the girlfriends are going up to the toilet and have a peek in and go, oh, that's a lovely bedroom. So that's what we're going to try and achieve. So in relation to that, could I ask you, how long do you have those curtains from Brian?
Probably about 10 years.
Oh, right. Okay, so it's that time. Why I was saying that is, if it was only in the last 2 or 3 years, Brian, who would be like myself, would have your name on record and would know the fabric and would be able to send you out a sample, which then you could bring into me. You don't have tie backs in it, do you? Or
no. But it's easy enough for me to take the fabric to bring you down a curtain.
Oh, well, absolutely. When the time comes, if you want to move forward, absolutely bring the curtain down, and we'll be able to match it in the studio without any question.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So what we need to do now then is to try and get a feeling of what type of bed head you'd like, and what you'd like to how you'd like the room to look, whether you want it to look, because you've gone with the 12, it's already a little bit classical, but we can modernize it slightly by the type of bed head we go with. Even though it's a cloth bed head, it's not going to be, we're not going to go with a leatherette or a leather or very contemporary. We'll go with something lovely and soft. On your floor, what do you have on your floor?
Wooden floor.
Okay, so with that in mind, then we might want to bring a little bit of texture in, because we have the wooden floor, which does tend to be cooler. At the moment, you have the pine wardrobe, but again, we probably will end up maybe with a white finish or a
Perfect
finish, because that will open up the room for you, and you won't feel the wardrobe coming down on you. Although the pine is absolutely gorgeous, then you'd need pine lockers, and it would close the room in as against open the room out for you. So we want to make this room feel really luxurious without the luxurious price tag. Is basically. So then what we need to do is to start to look at maybe some shapes of bed heads. And what I have, because you'd emailed into me saying it was a bed head that you'd like, hopefully you might be able to see these. I have some bed heads.
That's what I have in my own bedroom.
Right.
That's what I have in my own bedroom.
So there's different ways of looking at the bed heads I can just flick through these now a little easier. So say, for instance, this is, as you know, because you have it at home, then do you have the soft shape here like this in the corners as well?
Yeah.
What happens with that shape is you get lovely height without making it too contemporary and too square. So, but you don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. If you wanted it to look a little bit more contemporary, but not the same as what you have in your own room. Now, I wouldn't, because of the toile, I wouldn't recommend the dead square with just a little button in it. And also that dead square one with the little button in it is nearly what you're seeing in all the Harvey Normans at the moment. So we don't want that. You can still see this, can you? Yeah. You could, if you wanted to get a really luxury feel, you could go with a deep button bed head, and we would then keep the fabric very simple so it wasn't too fussy. A deep button bed head is a tiny bit more expensive than if it was not deep button, because it's a different work. This can give you the feeling, you know, the M&M. Dad, and there's the girl in the big white bed head and deep buttoned, and she's in bed with an M&M. But you could get that whole really, really lovely look. And say, again, I'm only talking out loud. Say we wanted the walls to pop a little bit more, your blue in your walls to pop a little bit more. Or we even decided to do the back of your bed head just a tone deeper, the wall, paint just the wall itself a tone deeper. There is great, I'm only just going to say velvet for a minute, but there is great velvets that you can get that will be white. Now, actually, that one's gone so dirty, I've been handling it so much, but will be white, but will also have complete waterproof finish. They look lovely, but if with the white bed head you do get a mark on it, you can wipe it with water. So there is that option that if we've decided to go with a pearly white, like a warm white, not a cold white, a warm white, or bordering into I hate to use the word cream, because the minute I say cream, people could think of yellow, and yellow, very yellow. But a warm white, you could make a fab bed head and let the blue then fall down the side of the tables on each side, which would contrast lovely against your bed linen. And there is nothing to stop us putting a nice blue, a blue cushion onto your bed that has, you know, or a nice throw at the end of the bed that might take in bluey grey tones. Have you got a throw there?
I have my throw here. I bought it in the VT sale.
Okay, so it's a white throw. That's great. But we might find that we even put a little blue trim onto it or something. So
it's sheepskin.
Oh, sheepskin. Oh, wonderful. Okay, that's what we might think about then our color because of that. So that's, say, a deep button. Then you have a little bit like what you have at home. And again, I don't know whether you can see that, but
yeah, I can.
it has that little shape, but it has this sort slightly more princess feel about it because it actually goes up a little bit. Now that can work really, really nice. Again, because the room isn't too wide this way and our curtain is here, we don't want to break the room in the middle and emphasize the room is narrow. So again, this kind of shape gives a little bit of softness to it, and it might be the shape that we might end up with. Now, on the edge of this, and it will be difficult to see, but it's actually slightly gathered.
Yeah, I see it.
That can be plain, or it can be gathered, or it can be pleated. And again, depending on the fabric we go with, we would make that decision.
And Katrina, could I just ask you, would you introduce two colors to that? Would you introduce the color of the curtains and then have the middle?
Yes, you can, but that would be a little bit more dated. So say,
okay,
for instance, 25 years ago, when we all had the borders around the middle of the room, we had the bed head, the center was one color, and we had the ruffle in a different color. That was really, really that period. And, you know, we don't want to date your room because you have the toile on it. We want, and I know the toile is 10 years old, but we don't want it to feel 10 years old. We want it to feel like you just got them done yesterday. So by slightly modernizing the look of the rest of the room, it'll look, because the toiles are still available and they're all back in fashion, but they're back in fashion with a slightly less fussy look.
Okay.
That's where maybe not going with a contrast, but what could look really well is, say for instance, in between here, we could bring in a really nice rope that has the colors, the two colors of the blue and the soft kind of grayish tone that you have on the walls. It could twist the three colors, so all the different tones of blue, right up maybe up to the whitey cream shade that we have, and that rope could then also go around maybe a cushion sitting on the bed. So again, it's bringing the opulence back into the space. And there's nothing to say that we couldn't use that rope as a tie back. Because again, if we don't have tie backs at the moment, we might introduce a tie back onto your curtain. So what you're really doing, well, what I would love you to do is to bring up the room and bring it into into 2020.
2020, yeah.
without the expense of having to change the curtains or do anything like that. Do you know what I mean? And that's really, so that's another shape. But then you could go and this now is, even though it has this lovely tall shape here, this is where you could go quite plain, but let the shape be the character. Now, believe it or not, that would be the most reasonable option, even though it looks a little bit more happening to it. But it's the shape that's creating it. It's creating it. And again, that would look very, very elegant. And, you know, you could do that in a very strong, deep, deep blue if you had wanted. And we go with the kind of the softer blue of the walls to the side tables, which again would lift the color out of the walls a tiny bit, because you would take it maybe one shade darker or two shades darker than the walls to give the walls a lift. But if you did do this in a dark color, you wouldn't have to do anything to the walls behind.
Yeah.
It's pulling out the color out of the walls. This shape here, I would totally not recommend it because of the tall, lovely contemporary lines. It's going to, if the room is 8-9 foot this way, we're only going to end up with about 1.5 foot here and 1.5 foot here. And it's going to make the room feel instantly smaller.
Okay.
equally, these are getting too modern, where we have the squares, very, very seen today a lot, but they would be just a bit too modern for alongside the toile, as would something like this here be a little bit too modern for the toile. And then we're back to something very similar to what you have in your present bedroom, as you said. So this, again, that's just kind of giving you an idea. Now there, you could pick a picture, any picture from a magazine and say, look, I love that shape, would it work? But the thing that is very important, that whatever shape we go with, it has a softness here to the corners, and it goes high, because that way it'll make the room look wider than it actually is.
I love that one. I actually do like that one, or I like the last one.
Okay, so that would be...
the last one that you showed me, you know, the one that we actually discussed. Yeah.
This one here.
Yeah. Just to have it a little bit different than the other one.
Yeah, and I would love your room to have it be a little bit different. And this is where that could be in a really nice, again, with the bed heads, I do really love to use the fabrics that have a natural scotch guard on them, rather than making them scotch guarded afterwards. Even if we do go into a deeper blue, because if a gent comes in, or if somebody who's staying, your mom or anybody staying, and they're inclined to want to sit against the bed and put their head up against it, it does eventually mark the bed head. So that's where your velvets, fabrics that have a pile on them will work so much better. It's like your fleece jacket versus a plain cotton jacket. A fleece jacket and you get dirt on it and it kind of just brushes off, where your cotton jacket or your cotton shirt, and you get a mark on it and you're left with a little oily stain. And so we want to work with something that's going to be a little bit more
durable. Yeah,
and serviceable. Yeah. Now, notwithstanding that, you can get the linens. If you really, really, really said to me, like, look, I want a linen that has a finish like that on it, they are available and reasonable. So, you know, we could get really nice linens like these that are in the deeper colors. But, and I've loads of books. I've just brought around 1 or 2 books with me. But you also can get your lovely white.
Now, all the bed is white, though.
And that's where I think the blue will be a much better contrast. But just if you had scent, you like the white, something like this, believe it or not, you can take a pen to it and you can wipe it and it comes off.
Oh, wow.
How good the fabrics have gone now. It's absolutely amazing. And there's a whole range of those type of fabrics. There's another lovely one that actually is a velvet that also does that. And
I'm not sure if I'm into velvet, Katrina.
Yeah, well, you see, that's where we might look at the linens. You see, now I'm not saying this is the right color, but that's a velvet that, again, is really, really cleanable. But equally, if you didn't feel that you wanted to go with the velvet, the cottons that I just showed you there, like these ones, but we'd have to be sure we have the color right.
Yeah, yeah.
Or there is another book here. Okay, this one, we just...
Now, Katrina, you have to think that this is your den of God only knows what. So,
you see, you could have lovely texture like that now. Can you see the texture in that?
I can.
So you could go with a texture like that if, again, the color is right. And these are also of that finish, and you know, a pen and all the rest will come off.
Yeah, I like that. I like that sort of linen-y look.
I like that linen-y look. Yeah. Right. So and that's great. I just don't want you to go with something that's high shine, because high shine, it's going to make the room really cold, especially with the white bed linen and the painted walls and the wooden floor. We want to bring in a little bit, like the way you brought in your throw, the sheepskin throw. It's lovely and cuddly and textured, you know, as against it being satiny and cold. So that's, for that reason, that's absolutely gorgeous. So what then we would have to look at is your lamps. What lamps have you got there at the moment on your bedside lockers?
I'll show you now.
Oh, you've got the ruffle heading on your curtains.
Yeah, well, yeah, don't look at the, yeah, I do.
and a creamy white pole. Okay. Oh, they're lovely lamps.
No, but they're not the right shades.
No, but why do you say they're not the right shades?
Because they're falling off. They came with black shades.
Okay. Now, all we probably need to do is get you on those shades. Basically, what's happening is you have sat the shade down onto the gimbal that's there presently, and the rim of the shade is say this size. I'm exaggerating, and then your shade is this size.
Yeah.
There's a little adapter that you can put onto that.
Oh, brilliant.
Around the shade and tighten it to your lamp base. So we can overcome that because, again, they're the lovely white crisp shade. They would bounce really well off if we go with the slightly darker bed head.
I like the darker, I like that.
Yeah, they will pop. They'll just pop lovely. And they'll also then allow for us to have your table throws in a mid color. That's just a reflection of your wall color. So what we need to do is, if we wanted to move forward, is maybe take down one of your curtains.
Yeah.
And come into the showrooms. And then what I can do is, with your curtain there, we will be able to pick the bed head color. But what I would also, because you're not sure of your paint color, I would love you to go up when all the cues have cues down, to go up to Woody's and pick a few paint charts that are similar in color to what you think your wall is. And bring them home and try and match your wall. Now, you're probably not going to get it exactly the same, because even if you could recognize the paint, when it goes onto your wall, it always looks slightly different to the color chart anyway. So just get the color.
I might have some in the shed. Well,
if you do have a bit in the shed, take a cereal box and paint a little bit of it onto the cereal box.
Okay.
And that will work. But another thing, if you don't want to take down your curtains, and if I was in the room at the moment, what I would do is I would ask you for, I'll just do it here. I would ask you for a scissors, and you'd say, oh my God, you're not going to cut my curtains. And I'd say, no. So what happens, the back of your curtain is folded like that.
Yeah.
And then like that. It folds into three, and you end up, just hold on 2 secs.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you end up with this kind of corner.
Yeah, I have it, like an envelope.
Like an envelope, exactly.
Yeah, I have it.
And if you pop your finger into that corner, what actually happens is you're pulling that little bit. Can you see the bit I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And all you have to do is take a 1-inch square or a little corner off that carries the...
Yeah, I can do that.
Because I don't actually need to see the design, because I've seen the design now.
Yeah.
I need to see the color. But the next thing to do is, when you take that little bit off, stick it to an envelope and staple it, because that little bit of fabric will go into your purse and come out with your loose change. So if you're at the...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's what I would do. I would staple it to a piece of paper, and better again, if you can staple it to the piece of paper or the piece of card that you have painted.
With the paint, yeah.
And then, armed with that, we have your colors.
Okay. Okay.
That in itself is great. The next other little thing you do is, are your tables the chipboard table? That's at the...
Yeah.
Yes, great. Okay. So what you do is, they're not heavy, is to pop one into the back of the car.
Yeah.
Bring it in, and we can measure it for you. And then we'll know what the circumference needs to be for the fabric to drape over it.
Okay.
And then, armed with that, we tentatively